Hi, thanks for joining us. Thank you to the folks at District 60 in Toronto. Toastmasters is making it possible for us to speak with Andrew Horberry, International Director of Toastmasters. And thanks for taking the time and joining us in Toronto to chat about Toastmasters.
Well, it's a delight to be here. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's very interesting because just before we sat down, we had a quick chat about the experience that people might not realize is Toastmasters. But I had the opportunity in the last year, as I pointed out to you, to sort of be immersed in it and understand a little bit more about it. And I was shocked at what an outstanding organization it is. Organized. There's a beginning, a middle, and a destination. There are so many skills that you can develop, and also an amazing group of people that you are suddenly exposed to and are making friends with. But I would love to hear your perspective on what Toastmasters is.
Well, thank you for discovering Toastmasters, first of all. It's true that many people don't know about us at all, and they're surprised when they learn there's over 300,000 of us around the world in 14,000 clubs, and we're a club organization. So when you visit a club, and anybody can visit any club, no cost, no obligation, just to see what it's like, they'll see people practicing their communication skills. And that's what's most evident, I think, in a club meeting. You see people giving speeches, they're practicing impromptu speaking, they're learning how to listen because they give evaluations as well, and not like those end-of-year evaluations you get.
No, we'll talk about that. It's
okay.
Much different, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it is a hive of activity, but it is not a willy-nilly experience. My experience was when I arrived, there was an opening, there was an organization of people who were assigned to do different things. And then, yes, there was this, what people might envision as being a terrifying experience of people getting up and giving prepared discussion in front of the group.
Yep.
And yes, they're evaluated. However, it is from such a warm and, I guess, encouraging place.
Well, every club is set up to provide a safe, supportive environment. That's absolutely ingrained in the organization. So yes, when you come and see it happening, I'm glad that you saw that in practice.
Oh, immediately, yeah.
And people who are giving prepared speeches have had some time to think about what they're going to say. One of the great skills is speaking to a length of time. And most Toastmaster speeches are 5 to 7 minutes, which coincidentally is the length of time that most people in organizations are now given if they're presenting something to a committee or a board of directors. That's the length of time you get. So this is great practice for all those skills that you need in real life.
That's very true. We call it the elevator pitch in many cases, but it happens in almost every industry where somebody's called upon. So if you've made a job change, or you're now expected to be speaking to the group that you work with, or to organizations that you're associated with, it could be a frightening time in your life to make that job change. This is set up perfectly to help you master that. Toastmasters, after all.
And some corporations actually have clubs embedded in the corporation because they realize it's a really great way of a less pressured environment. So your boss is not likely to be in this meeting. So you can try stuff out, get some reaction to it, refine it, and then give the presentation to your boss.
Let's talk about who should think about Toastmasters, because as I pointed out, it's a little scary getting in front of, I've heard the stats about getting in front of people to speak are disastrous. Mm-hmm. The desire for people to do it is just not there, but it is important that we communicate and that we have communicators. How do we entice people to become a Toastmasters member?
Well, some of our members are told by their boss to come and join a club. So there's some very directive stuff going on there.
Very interesting.
But many other people just discover it because, as you suggested, they've had a change of circumstance. They've got into a new job, or they want a new job. And they need to practice their interviewing skills. They need to practice learning how to tell their story to somebody else. And then some people just want to get better at public speaking. Some people have got to deliver a speech at a wedding or a funeral. All sorts of reasons that people need to be able to communicate well.
It's a beautiful environment in which to do it. Let's paint a picture. And then we'll talk about the different means of experiencing Toastmasters, because there's many pathways you can take, and each one of them is fascinating. But overall, let's talk about a meeting and what the value is to being there, to being in the room with an assigned group of people, everybody with their task, everybody participating always.
And to certain lengths of time. You'll find most club meetings are an hour long. Some of them are 1.5. Some, occasionally they'll go to 2 hours, depending on the type of club.
I appreciated that most. I said this to you when I first met. I love the clock. The Toastmasters clock is ingenious because, like you say, you have to be able to express yourself in an edited thought by being compelling, by being engaged in the room.
Right. And I think what you would see in any club meeting, especially here in Toronto, is a huge variety of people. Some people have English as a second or even third language, so they're practicing their language skills. Some people are very experienced. When I joined Toastmasters, I was such a bad Toastmaster. When I joined, I thought I knew everything because I worked in marketing.
Right.
I was an MBA, so oh my goodness,
you're pitching all day long.
Yeah, and my livelihood depended on my ability to do that. So I thought I was great. Then I joined the Toastmasters Club and realized I had so much more to learn. So you'll find very experienced people who are there typically as mentors for the less experienced folks.
Right.
Some people just starting out, they're terrified. They really don't want to speak at all, but they get to know over time that this is a great environment just to try things out. Nobody's going to mark them down.
No. In fact, everybody was so impressed with everybody else, and for good reason. Mm-hmm. When you go to Toastmasters, you put a little bit of time into it. You put a bit of rehearsal, a little bit of writing, a little bit of all of these skills get tapped in communication. You might find yourself communicating in different ways with your own family because they find you more engaging in this way.
Do you know, I think that's one of the great benefits, and we don't talk about it a lot at Toastmasters, but the ability to be a better human being because you can communicate better, because you know that you've got to listen before you speak, and then you've got to frame what you're going to say in a way that's acceptable to somebody, that they will take that, usually evaluation, on board and then do something about it. All of those are super transferable, not just to business, but to your home life, family, friends. I honestly think you become a better human being as a result of going through this process.
As you point out, it wraps up in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But it does, in that short time, a lot takes place. Nobody is sitting around. The order of the meeting is very, it moves at a clip. Mm-hmm. An hour goes by very quickly and everybody's energized by the time that it's done. And I think that's the benefit to the length of time that you put into these meetings, that you can show up weary about being at one more meeting in the week and leave energized for the rest of the week.
Well, we have some clubs that meet very early in the morning, 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning. And
God.
Some people love that. Many people recoil and think, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But many people love it. And they say they love it for just that reason. They come out energized and ready to do battle at work.
Let's talk about the pathways, if you don't mind, that Toastmasters can take you on. So when you join, you start to make decisions about what you're going to make use of in Toastmasters. Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, there are 6 paths that you can choose from, and they have different biases. All of them start off in the same way. All of them start off exploring the basics of communication. So how do you put a presentation together? How do you use vocal variety? How do you use body language to communicate? So the basics are covered off at the beginning of every single path, and then they diverge a little. And it depends whether you want to be a communicator. Maybe you want to be a person that gets paid to speak. There's a path that will take you down that. Maybe you want to become a stand-up comedian. There's a pathway called engaging humor that will take you down that path as well. So it doesn't matter what you want to achieve. There's a path that you can choose that will help you achieve that.
Andrew, let's talk a little bit about your history and then the history of Toastmasters. How did you end up engaged in Toastmasters?
I was so lucky. I arrived in Canada in 2004. I'd never heard of the organization. And as I said, I thought I was fantastic at presenting. And a client a client mentioned this to me. Now, I don't know whether the client thought, oh, he's interested in communication, so it would be good for him, or whether the client thought he did a lousy job at pitching me something.
Regardless, leave it in the ether. It led you to the same door.
And I walked into a club meeting. I went on Toastmasters.org. We have something called Find a Club, so you can type in your coordinates and it will spit out, here are all the clubs that you might want to go visit. You choose. I chose a club that met at 7:30 in the morning, which was crazy early for me. I was not an early bird at all. And I walked in, and by the end of that meeting, I thought, I need to join this club. They are great people. There were 3 prepared speeches. All of them were fascinating and funny and motivating. And I thought, these are good people. And then I saw the evaluation that you talked about coming into play. They were getting good feedback that they could accept or reject according to what they wanted to do. And I saw people also practicing real impromptu speaking skills. Most club meetings have an area called table topics.
Okay.
And the person responsible for that area will fire a question at you, and you don't have 5 to 7 minutes to speak. You've got 1 to 2 minutes. So you've got to get your story together very quickly. Real elevator pitch.
Every single speech that I saw in my experience was wonderful, funny, engaging, informative. Mm-hmm. People really took the time. And then the impromptu moment was brilliant because people took their own perspective on it. They felt confident in front of the group. It was a fun moment. That seems to be the fun moment of the night. Okay, let's throw a dart at the board. And,
yep.
But it was, once again, a group of very welcoming members giving feedback, being impressed with one another more than anything, which I thought was wonderful. And it just the experience overall, I can understand how you walked in because I went on a guest experience. And at that experience, Andrew, I would say the majority of the guests decided to stay.
Yeah. And that's not atypical. We find that many guests just become so enthralled with the possibility. It's a very low cost to join as well. So it's not one of those operations where you have to spend thousands of dollars to get some learning.
It's not a country club membership. No,
absolutely not.
But it can certainly make you more engaging at the country club. Let's talk about the history, if you don't mind, of Toastmasters overall. This might be the first time that you're learning about Toastmasters. We'll call this Toastmasters 101. Mm-hmm. But 101 is a significant number because that's how long you've been around.
Yeah, and who would have guessed? Yeah, it's our founder, Dr. Smedley, started this organization in one place, in the YMCA in Southern California. And he started it because he saw young men in particular at that point unable to express themselves, unable to get ahead at work because they couldn't talk confidently about their ideas. And I think that is still very true. We see people coming in all the time who are brilliant, brilliant people, really good people, and they're getting held back because they don't know how to express themselves. So that germ of an idea started in Southern California. It spread over, first of all, the US. Canada was the first other country.
Oh, right.
And now we're in over 140 countries with 14,000 clubs around the world. And right now, over 300,000 members, all practicing their skills every week.
If you had one memory to this point from Toastmasters that really sticks out in your mind, what would that be?
Oh, my goodness, that is so tough.
I like to ask a tough question of every guest.
I think that the most interesting thing I saw was a member standing up at an election and freezing. And this guy was super experienced and really good. He would have been fantastic in that position. And he started his speech and then froze in front of a very big audience. And I think what I felt the warmth of that room, understanding what that's like. Because it doesn't matter whether you're brand new to speaking or whether you've been at it for some time, just to see someone go through that, be prepared to go through that, was extraordinary. And the story had a happy ending because he came back and he stood again, and he's now one of my fellow directors, and he's just fantastic. Brilliant. I love working with him because he's such a valuable resource for the organization. So I think that feeling of you can mess up and it's okay within our organization. Everybody learns from that. Everybody empathizes, first of all, because most of us have been through that, but we learn from it and we get better as a result.
That's a great example because it really is exemplary of the experience that is Toastmasters, as best I can see. It seems to be a place where you can make a mistake, you could fall down, the group will help stand you back up, make some suggestions about how you stay on your feet, and then you move on, better for having done that. And then it's your turn to help the next person. It's really a wonderful chain.
Yeah, and it works the other way as well. We've seen people have super success through being in Toastmasters as well. One of my favorite stories is based right here in Toronto, where we had a wealth manager at Scotiabank who was doing a great job, had a very responsible job, it paid well, but he wanted to be a stand-up comedian.
Oh.
And he joined Toastmasters to practice those skills, which he wasn't getting the opportunity to use generally in wealth management.
Go figure.
And then he got so confident that he decided that he was going to try going to comedy clubs and try out there. And eventually he quit the job at wealth management. Took him, I think he says, 3 years.
That's a short time in stand-up comedy. Yeah.
To be at the same salary level that he had left. But now has an international touring circuit. He's recorded a Netflix special. He is a lecturer at the University of Toronto on communication. And he will credit Toastmasters with helping him achieve all of that.
If somebody wanted to find out more about Toastmasters, this has inspired them, and I hope it has, how would they do that?
Simply go on toastmasters.org and you'll find a function called Find a Club. Just type in where you are, and it will show you a map showing you where all the clubs are. There's over 100 in downtown Toronto. So there's lots to choose from, meeting different days, different times of the week. There might be, if you're working, there might be one or more clubs in your organization. And you can go visit any of those clubs. No cost, no obligation, just turn up, see what it's like.
I did it. I loved it. I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
Andrew, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And to everybody at Toastmasters in Toronto, District 60, thanks for making this possible. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. And we hope that you'll join us again for the next one.